In Part 1, we traced foundations stretching back over 4,000 years. By the medieval period, this expertise had transformed the Indian Ocean into a commercial highway where African ports became centers of intercontinental trade. When the Moroccan traveler Ibn Battuta approached Kilwa Kisiwani off the Tanzanian coast in 1331, he was arguably the most traveled man alive. Over 3 decades, he had journeyed 75,000 miles across the known world, from Andalusia to Delhi, from Constantinople to Damascus. He had seen the Hagia Sophia, walked through the courts of sultans, and witnessed the grandeur of medieval Baghdad. His reaction to Kilwa was remarkable. Stone buildings of elegant Islamic architecture rising from the tropical coastline. Vessels larger than his with more sophisticated rigging. Markets bustled with goods from 3 continents: Chinese porcelain, Indian textiles, Persian carpets. But what truly amazed Ibn Battuta wasn't the architecture or wealth. It was the casual expertise of the people. Ship captains announced departure schedules for India with confidence of men running regular ferry services. Merchants discussed monsoon patterns across the Indian Ocean, as if reading familiar weather reports. Ibn Battuta later wrote that Kilwa was one of the most beautiful and well-constructed towns in the world. This from a man who had literally seen the world's greatest medieval cities. What he was witnessing was the result of a maritime revolution that had been building along the East African coast for centuries, a fusion of African maritime foundations with Arab trading networks and Islamic culture that produced something unprecedented. What had made this transformation possible was a revolutionary vessel design emerging from African ports. The dhow, with its distinctive triangular Lateen sail, could sail efficiently against prevailing winds, a capability that transformed ocean travel from seasonal gambling into predictable scheduling. While European ships waited in harbors for favorable breezes, dhow captains maintained schedules regardless of weather patterns. The real genius? These ships were sewn with coconut rope instead of iron nails. To Europeans, this looked primitive. It was superior engineering. Flexible rope joints allowed vessels to bend with ocean swells, absorbing punishment that would shatter rigid construction. The same principle ancient Egyptians had pioneered with the Khufu ship thousands of years earlier. Ibn Battuta sailed on these vessels during his travels and marveled at their seaworthiness. The largest dhows could transport over 100 passengers and dozens of tons of cargo across thousands of miles of open water, doing so more safely than contemporary European ships. Quick request, if the evidence we've presented so far is educational, smash that like button. It helps this documentary reach people who still believe the Age of Discovery narrative. We're about to show you how African navigators mastered monsoon prediction with precision Europe wouldn't match for 200 years. Stay with me. But technology alone doesn't explain Ibn Battuta's astonishment. The real breakthrough was understanding that the Indian Ocean operated like a giant seasonal clock. For 6 months, southwest monsoons provided steady winds carrying ships from Africa to India. Then the pattern reversed and northeast monsoons brought them home. This created natural shipping schedules, but only for navigators who could predict the timing with precision. Missing a monsoon change by days meant waiting 6 months for the next opportunity. The Swahili navigators had cracked this code through generations of careful observation. They preserved this knowledge in navigation songs, not just cultural traditions, but precision instruments encoding centuries of meteorological data. When certain constellations appeared at sunset, the monsoons would shift within days. When specific birds began migrating, wind patterns would change within weeks. Combined with observations of ocean swell patterns, water temperature changes, and cloud formations, they created prediction systems that allowed them to promise arrival dates thousands of miles away and actually meet them. The sophistication of these networks is documented in Chinese imperial records. In 1071, an envoy from Zanzibar completed a remarkable 160-day voyage to the Song Dynasty court, traveling via Oman, India, and Indonesia. His journey is recorded in the official History of Song. Chinese chronicles document more than 8 African envoys from 5 different kingdoms visiting China between the 10th and 14th centuries. These weren't occasional diplomatic gestures, but evidence of regular political and commercial relationships maintained across thousands of miles of ocean. By 1200, this expertise had created unprecedented prosperity along the East African coast. Kilwa's Great Mosque, with its massive stone dome, was financed entirely by profits from Indian Ocean trade. The Sultan controlled commercial routes connecting African gold mines to Asian markets. The 12th century geographer al-Idrisi created what many consider the most accurate medieval map of the East African by consulting African navigators. Their knowledge was so precise that al-Idrisi's charts remained the best available for centuries and would later be used by European explorers planning their own expeditions. But Portuguese ships were pushing around Africa's southern tip, seeking the very trade routes that African navigators had operated for centuries. When these maritime traditions finally met in 1498, the encounter would reveal who possessed superior expertise and begin one of history's most systematic cover-ups in European archives themselves. Part 3 is where everything comes together. We're going to show you exactly what happened when Vasco da Gama's failing mission encountered African maritime mastery. We'll read the Portuguese's own words admitting their inferiority. Then we'll trace, decade by decade, how they systematically erased this truth from European historical records. If you've watched both parts so far, do me a favor. Share this series with someone, a teacher, a student, a history lover, and subscribe if you haven't yet, because Part 3 exposes the cover-up using European archives themselves